All right. Hello and welcome to Cheat Code Radio, episode number 5. I'm your host, Nicholas Downie, from the English today. Assistant editor in chief of lordsofgaming.net. And as always, I'm joined by my good friend.
Hey, I'm Ivan Siler, aka Anchorman V2 for the Multiverse Show, and together we are Cheat Code Radio. We got a lot of stuff to cover. We're sorry we're late. We had scheduling issues. It's Big Dog's birthday over here, so congratulations, Nick.
Yeah, another 28 years and one step closer to putting a foot in the grave. It's a great time. Great time. Great time. But yeah, no, I had some scheduling issues, so we had to bounce around a little. But we just couldn't miss this week because oh boy.
Oh
I
boy.
will I know we're like very new, but I just couldn't abandon our new subscribers and leave them behind. I never want to leave you hanging. I never want to leave you with a subpar app experience here. But we'll get into this much later. So, Ivan, let's kick us off with our community questions, shall we?
Oh, actually, yeah. So yeah, for our we edited our poll last week. So let me go ahead and pull that up while I'm looking at it here. Um, Actually, I'm very disappointed. You guys didn't really answer this question like at all. So we asked, who do you think will win the coveted top shooter this year? With 100% of the vote, Halo, Halo won. No one. No one else say anything but Halo. That's it.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm like, wow, that's pretty sad. Not even gonna put up a fight. Okay, cool, whatever.
Damn. Okay.
Yep, that went quick. Yeah, so I guess we'll get into the questions this week. Because we're late, we're gonna do more than 5 this time because we actually got quite a few. I got 9 questions this time. We got a lot of people who want to know things. First question, because on a dare we're gonna answer this question. This one comes from Nakapuki on Twitter. He asked, "Why is the color blue?"
It's because we're under a constant state of existential crisis. And we're sad all the time. Blue.
I mean, I guess.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, the color blue has to do with like wavelengths and certain particles and such. So, I mean, light's traveling in smaller waves. So, I mean, that's why the color blue, I guess. I don't know.
Is it a
Said to
box?
answer it.
Is
So, I don't know. He dared us to answer, so here you go. So, all right, first real question. I'm not sure. Is this Glorious Kev who sent this one in?
no, this
This
is my
sounds like a Glorious Kev.
no. This is actually my friend Kev from work.
Oh, different Kev. Okay, gotcha. So this question comes from Kev from work. Uh, Back for Blood is being hailed as the next Left 4 Dead. Did you guys get a chance to check out the beta? What do you guys think? I'll let you start it off, Nick. Did you guys get a chance to play Back for Blood?
Yeah, actually, that's what I spent a majority of my birthday doing with my best friend. Is we
Ooh.
did the Magic Grass and played Back for Blood, and it's substantially it's really good. I really get nervous about people drawing comparisons to Left 4 Dead because Left 4 Dead has that perfect balance of fun and nostalgia that a lot of people have, and it's aged actually pretty well for what it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember there was a game I reviewed for Tick way back when it was called Earthfall. And now the developers were the ones that always called it a successor to Left 4 Dead. It wasn't the fans calling it this, but it definitely dug into those vibes, but it was terribly balanced and it was ultimately it's the lowest game I've ever rated. I think I gave it a 3 out of 10. It was terrible. Um but there's some really good things about Back for Blood. I like the overall gameplay. It's pretty straightforward. Point A, point B, kill zombies. The zombies are kind of forgettable. I'm not talking about the base ones. I mean the special ones. Like I couldn't tell you what they're called or whatever. They're just not memorable. But I don't know if Left 4 Dead's were memorable at the start either, or it's just because it was one of the games I played for 4 years that those
Mm-hmm.
characters became memorable, so to speak. The banter's good. The guns feel samey. I don't know how you feel about that, but I found like a lot of the guns just felt overall kind of the same. They all kind of kick a lot and they're kind of but other than that, it's fun. It's good in co-op. Like it's the only major complaint that I have with it is the card system feels insanely tacked on. Like I'm like, okay, in between rounds we're drawing new cards and wherever the case may be, and I'm sure like you'll get better cards, that'll help with different difficulty levels and everything else. But in the beta, it felt incredibly tacked on, and I'm not 100% sure I really dig it yet.
So you mentioned you played a lot of Left 4 Dead. Like how much did you really get into Left 4 Dead? Like I'm curious.
Like I'm talking like 1,000+ hours easily.
Mm. All right, so here's a little bit of backstory for me. I got into Left 4 Dead 2 because, also the first time I played it, I went to a convention, but it was being held at a local college, and because they were trying to like establish like a gaming convention for like our area,
Right.
and so what they did is they had a bunch of rooms. It was like a 6-story building, and they had a bunch of rooms, and the rooms were dedicated like to certain games. And I remember because me and my buddy David, we've been best friends since like middle school. We went to this convention and we saw Left 4 Dead 2 and we started playing it and we were just like blown away by it. Then I went to college, and my roommate, his name was Scott, he played Left 4 Dead 2 competitively.
Mm-hmm.
Like so they were on streams and like they had like actually like esports announcers like doing the play-by-plays.
Mm-hmm.
He was actually playing in those tournaments. I was just blown away. So I would watch him play and we had a blast. And like we were living and breathing Left 4 Dead 2. And I played on 360 and I enjoyed myself and had a great time. So Left 4 Dead, like it holds a special spot because after Left 4 Dead 2, I basically told myself I'm not playing any zombie games until something comes along that's as good, if not better than Left 4 Dead 2.
Hmm.
And I still haven't come across a game yet that is that has done that. Like I've played other things, but mainly just for other random aspects of it. Like I played Dying Light, namely just because it had parkour and I thought it would be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that. I played um I played Dead Rising 4 mainly because it was a Christmas game to me. But I for me, in terms of zombie games, Left 4 Dead 2 is like the peak. Just the pacing's perfect. The gunplay is great. The competitive aspect is also a blast. But Back for Blood, because this is the same developers, I really dig it. Um, like I think where it's better than Left 4 Dead, I think the banter is better between the individual characters.
Mm-hmm.
The world feels more lived in. It doesn't feel like it's just like a set.
Yeah.
Like with Left 4 Dead 2, it felt like it was a movie set,
Yeah.
like almost every time. But this doesn't feel like that. It feels like a real space. Um, the guns are better. The fact that they're willing to let you pick any like at the base area, pick any gun and any attachment and play with all of them right then and there means they're confident in their gunplay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think some parts where it's kind of weaker than Left 4 Dead. I would say their versus mode is worse. Did you get a chance to play that at all?
No, I didn't touch the versus mode in
Yeah.
Left 4 Dead either. So.
Oh man, the versus mode in Left 4 Dead 2 was fun because it was basically just the regular game, but you got to play as infected, and the other team was it was basically who could get farther in the level. That's
Right.
all it was about. But this one is all about just survival. How long can you survive in one particular area? Which is not a terrible thing, but it's just not the same,
Yeah.
and it's not worth it, I think. But I will say the part where I think it's excelling is their types, at least in terms of what their benefit is for the special infected.
Mm.
They kind of mix certain types together, and I kind of prefer it more than Left 4 Dead. For example, so they have the ones that are just the torsos,
Yep.
and they just pop out of the ground and they grab you, and you're just like immediately incapacitated.
Yeah.
And like it simulates like two different other infected from Left 4 Dead. That it does incapacitate you, but it's more of like a trap, and
Yep.
you sometimes you can't see it coming. Um, I think at the same time, like was it Crushers or whatever, the ones that basically look at the one arm that masturbates too much.
Yep.
Um, like that one is like a mix between like a charger and something else. I can't think of it. But then like they realize like the spitter is kind of dumb. Like the spitter was always like one of the weakest infected because all you do is just avoid a space and
Yeah.
that's it. But they kind of like said, okay, we're gonna make it so if it hits you, you're stuck and you
Hmm.
can't get out.
Yep.
And I think that made it way more interesting as a potential enemy. So I think the special infected types are a lot more interesting and dynamic. So I'm really enjoying it. I'm definitely playing it day one because I mean it's also coming to Game Pass, so that's awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah. So those are my thoughts on Left 4 Dead. All right, so I gotta ask you, Nick, who's your go-to pick so far as your character?
I can't remember the guy's name. I think it's Walker. He's like the military dude.
Walker. Oh, okay, fine. I like playing as Greg Miller. I think he's like it's like Greg Miller and John Goodman from Big Lebowski combined. They're wearing the same exact outfit with the red shirt and then the vest
Yeah.
and the glasses and everything. It's like, oh my god.
Yep. All right.
Yeah. All right. Moving on. So next question comes from Subtle Gravedigger. All right, here it is. Call of Duty Vanguard has been leaked yesterday. It's back to World War II, boys. What you think? Um, Call of Duty, right?
Yeah. Like I don't. I. Here's the thing with Call of Duties. I actually went through and started watching the like pre-release stuff for the past like 5 or 6 Call of Duty games. And like I know we rag on Call of Duty for being generally pretty uncreative, but oh my god, it's almost cohesive at this point on how they roll it out, what trailer footage they're going to show. They're going to show some big battle that people are emotionally attached to in World War II. There's going to be a guy talking about how dire the situation is. And then they're going to switch to some multiplayer footage of someone 360 no scoping someone with a Car 98. And I I just find World War II so disinteresting at this point because there's been so many games that have done it so well that it's like, why are you retreading this? Like, I don't know. Like, conceptually, it's just not interesting to me. Like, I bought Black Ops Cold War just because it was in the Cold War era and there's not a lot of shooters in the Cold War era. Like, hit me with a campaign wise, hit me with that stuff because the only thing that'll get me to buy a Call of Duty now is a good campaign.
Mhm.
Because no matter what state they release the multiplayer in, they eventually patch it to the point where it's the same as the last one.
Yep. Ugh. Man, I totally get that. Like, was it the Last of Us? Oh, so sorry. Call of Duty World War II. Initially, it felt like the assault rifles were like really, really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Like I remember one gun in particular was the Commando. That one like you could like two shot a person. Like
Yeah.
they made sure they were hard because the most of the game was based around SMGs, but they made sure the assault rifles were powerful as hell. But yeah, towards the end they patched it so it was basically just like the other Call of Duties, where it's like 10 bullets to kill.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah, I totally get that. Um, I don't know, man. I just don't care about Call of Duty. I haven't cared about Call of Duty in a while. Um, in terms of like World War II shooters, like when Call of Duty World War II came out, it was a nice breath of fresh air because everyone was getting on the whole Titanfall copy paste thing. Like, oh, we need to be just like Titanfall, and they finally stopped doing that and returned to boots on the ground, which is what everybody wanted. They finally did that, and I think people were really excited about it. But now it's like, okay, look, if you're gonna do World War II, you got to do something that's unique.
Mm-hmm.
Like go to a setting we don't go to ever. Um, do a different mentality. I don't know. Like, but I can tell you one thing: if Call of Duty, if Call of Duty Vanguard is just, oh yeah, we're like deep behind enemy lines. We're in the Ardennes forest. Like, we gotta go kill Hitler or something like that. It's like I'm gonna be bored as hell.
See, the thing is what interests me so much about a Call of Duty Vanguard is we saw a report, I think it was last week or the week before, where they said no, they weren't going to re-release Modern Warfare 3 remastered alongside Call of Duty Vanguard because they felt like Call of Duty, the next Call of Duty was going to be a strong showcase title for them. So internally, they feel confident in what this is. And now, what Activision feels confident about internally might not be the best thing in the world. With that being said, it feels really ballsy because the reaction so far has been pretty, okay.
Yeah. Um. But yeah, you're right though. Like normally Call of Duty, they'll do like a whole the same tactic every time. They'll do the tactical leak like this. They'll show like, oh yeah, here's the cover art or something that no one really cares about. They kind of like get like a litmus test from there, and then they do like you said, they do the whole trailer. Like, oh yeah, this is how bad the situation is. They're gonna show some badass stuff, like you like flipping around or stabbing a guy up really close.
Yep.
Like they normally do something like that, and it's like, yeah, that's pretty normal. But here's my question as a follow up. So we know they're probably going to do something by the end of this month, right?
Yep.
So the question is this going to be Sony's event or is
Yeah.
this going to be a separate Activision event?
No, this will be a PlayStation event. I'll say this. I'm not willing to put my name out there with the people that are like, yeah, August 19th, definitively, this is when the PlayStation event is going to happen. But I do believe there'll be a PlayStation event late August, early September. And I know that's vague as hell. This isn't like a prediction to like up my clout, so to speak. But if Call of Duty is getting revealed, PlayStation's doing an event for it, and we're seeing things leak out about Grand Theft Auto and stuff like that right now. And we've got the Grand Theft Auto 5 re-release coming out soon. So there's got to be a PlayStation third-party event coming soon, especially since Final Fantasy 16 was pulled from Tokyo Game Show. That shows to me that PlayStation is going to do an event. And here's how I think it's going to be. It's going to be your Call of Duty, your Final Fantasy 16, another third-party announcement alongside that. They're going to delay Horizon Forbidden West to officially to February, and then they're going to close out with the God of War trailer to make up for that delay, and everyone's going to be ecstatic about it.
I don't know. I feel like they close on Call of Duty.
No,
I feel like that's what they would do.
there's no way with, even if they were originally they might have, but there's no way with what's going on with Blizzard Activision right now, anyone in Sony is going to okay closing a show with Call of Duty right now.
We say that, but there's been a lot of stuff that Sony's done that doesn't make any sense either.
But I feel like
I'm going to say they'll close on Call of Duty. They'll close on Call of Duty, no God of War. We're not going to hear anything about God of War. Like, they'll do, oh yeah, here's like, I think at this point, when it comes to games, if they don't have a firm release date, they're not talking about it. I still believe that to this day, when they announced God of War at was it Game Awards or whatever from 2020, yeah, like they knew it wasn't coming out in 2021. Well, they knew it wasn't. They just announced it.
You and me have talked about.
I still don't believe it. I know we've talked about it. I still don't believe it.
Well, no,
I don't believe that they thought it was going to 2021.
It's important that people understand the wording of these things. They showed a trailer with some generic over, Kratos talking over it, and then they said God of War Ragnarok 2021. They never said the game was releasing then. They could have just meant we're going to see more in 2021. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that they never said coming 2021. They just splash screened the game and then 2021. And then if you read the press release, it's not even called God of War Ragnarok. It's the next the next God of War game. It's like Breath of the Wild. It's still the highly anticipated sequel of Breath of the Wild. It doesn't have a name yet, which is wild.
Yep. But no, I firmly believe that they knew that and they intentionally did what they did. And I still believe that is what their plan was. I don't even think they're going to show God of War because they have no idea when it's actually coming out. Like I still believe that. And I'm not even sure it's going to come out in 2022 either. I'm not even sure about that. Namely because we haven't seen anything about it. Like literally no update, no anything since they teased it.
Well, and we
Like
do.
if it was scheduled to come out, we would have heard something by now.
It's also worth noting that a lot of developers have come forward, especially studios that work heavily in mocap, and have said that they lost months and months of production due to
Mm.
COVID-19. And I don't know, like, I'm not going to pretend to know. Like, I know, like, Arcane struggled a lot. I know Ninja Theory struggled a lot because of strict lockdowns in the UK. I don't know how much California was locked down and how heavy
Oh, they
restrictions
were
were.
pretty bad. It was pretty bad in California.
So, where Sony Santa Monica's at, who knows? But I think that's the
Yeah.
kind of world we live in right now where it's just going to be day to day,
Yep.
week to week.
And I think with Corey being involved still, like they're not going to release that game until it's done.
Absolutely. I
And so yeah,
100%
I'm not
agree.
I'm not even sure about 2022.
Yeah. No,
Like they're not going to rush that game.
it's the same thing I said with Horizon Forbidden West when everyone was hell bent that was coming out this year. I was like, there is no world where Herman Hulst is the head of PlayStation Studios and that game doesn't release perfectly.
Mhm.
There's just no way it
It's his
happens.
baby studio. It's his baby
Exactly.
studio.
Exactly.
Yep. All right, let's jump on the next one here. All right, this is what I have no idea about. This comes from Chief Tommy, long-term supporter. Are you guys excited about Dr. Disrespect's new studio? Do you think his game will be successful with their other AA, AAA game? Oh, sorry, with their AA, AAA game. I have no idea, man.
Yeah, so basically, I didn't read a lot into this. I saw the headlines and I kind of went, oh, God. But apparently, Dr. Disrespect's going to put together a game studio and he's going to work cohesively with content creators and game developers to create, like, I don't understand it. I didn't read a whole lot about it, but it's interesting to see a streamer kind of try to invest in the industry space because we haven't really seen streamers do that.
Oh, keep in mind, like he used to work for Call of Duty, right?
Did he?
I thought he did.
I don't.
Let me look it up real quick.
I honestly
I know
don't.
he has a background in it.
Yeah, I honestly don't know anything about Doctor Disrespect, of course, except for what made headlines. Um, but honestly, people are gonna open studios. We'll see how it goes. I'm not 100% sure what a studio culture based around him is gonna look like. Considering some of the things we've
Yeah,
seen
here
and
he
heard.
is. I'm looking at his Wikipedia right now. It says posted his first video about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in 2010. Featured a lot in Machinima. March 16th, 2011, Beam was appointed as the community manager of Sledgehammer Games, promoted to level designer for Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Then he quit in 2015 and became a full-time streamer. So yeah, he worked with Call of Duty.
That's
He was a level
wild.
designer.
So he actually
Yeah.
he was in the industry and then exited to become a streamer and now he's working his way
Yeah.
backwards. Wow,
Well,
that's interesting.
so he was a streamer first technically, but apparently like either they thought he was competent, so they Sledgehammer picked him up, and so I mean, Advanced Warfare was pretty good.
Yeah, I loved
I
Advanced
mean,
Warfare actually.
so I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. Like I don't have any hard feelings about this either way. Like I wish him luck with it and you know, we'll see what happens, honestly. Like God damn it, the
I'm
guy,
sure it'll be whatever it is. I'm sure it'll be balanced, at least that much.
yeah, and like we had the guitarist from Nine Inch Nails and another gentleman start a studio this week. Like everybody's starting studios right now, so it's gonna be interesting
Yep.
to see where this all heads in the future. The industry's thriving, so growth is a big factor here right now, and we'll wait and
Hmm.
see how it pans out.
Yep. So not at all surprised, but anyway. Um, let's see. Number 5. How frequently do you clean your toilet, and what do you use? Submitted by Consuela.
Lemon pledge, and uh, I don't know. I use Lysol like a normal human being with a toilet brush, and you elbow grease that
Yeah, but how frequently? We gotta figure that out.
frequently. Like I don't know, once a week. It's like a
Damn, you do
Sunday
more than I
job.
do. All right, I do it like once a month, maybe every other month. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Of
got four
course, it's
people.
right now it's just me,
I was
so
gonna
I'm
say
like,
it's just you, right? So like I got like four other
yeah,
people, and like
true.
kids, man, kids.
Yeah. Oh yeah, kids. Ugh. Ugh. So, I don't know. This is a random question. Like, okay, cool, whatever. All right, next real question. This one comes from First Saint Inferno. Microsoft just had an indie showcase, and they're going to be at Gamescom. Where the hell is Sony's big event? Guess that kind of ties in what we were talking about earlier. So, yeah, Microsoft did have a indie event. They're doing ID at Xbox. I honestly didn't even know much about what would happen there specifically for whatever event. Um, yeah. So I mean, I guess we go back to what we were talking about earlier, like with Sony's event in particular. I think it's going to be Call of Duty focused, and I don't think it's going to be like I think, but I also don't really focus on it all that much, honestly, because every time we start talking about, oh, Sony has to have an event, and Sony's got to do this, and Sony's got to do that, they don't do it. It's like, why bother trying to even think about it?
See, it's always weird to me because I'm trying to think of how to put this into the proper phrasing. Is like when Microsoft is really hitting it out of the park, it's like, well, Sony has to do something. And it's like, they don't, though. Like, just because Microsoft's talking right now doesn't mean Sony has to, like, argue at the same time. Like, they can come in waves and talk about what they've got going and what they've got cooking and everything else. And myself personally, and I know this is a personal opinion more than anything else, but when we had rumors about a state of play or Sony having like a big PlayStation event and all the quote unquote insiders were saying, "Oh, they're going to reveal the next 4 years of PlayStation titles coming." I was kind of dreading that. I was kind of dreading that cuz the E3 of Dreams was such this big massive thing that ultimately took years for them to actually roll out all the games involved in that. I'd much
Yep.
rather
Like,
prefer, like you and me have talked about game release dates. I know it's not practical for everyone, but how Bethesda typically released games is how I liked it. I like to see a trailer to get me introduced to what the game you're trying to sell me is, an in-depth trailer of what you're trying to do with your game, and then my launch trailer and give me the game. I don't need to see a game 17 times across 3 years to know I'm interested in a game.
mhm. No, like for me, like you guys are definitely similar, at least in terms of how we like to have it announced. But like I remember the 2016 E3 of Dreams, like Sony came out, guns ablaze, but I think that was because Sony was in that position. I think they're doing the same exact strategy they did last time, which was, hey, yeah, we're gonna be pretty light on our games for the first half, and then the second half, like you're just gonna have game after game after game. But at that point, after keeping people waiting for so long, they were like, "All right, we're gonna launch the salvo. Like, we don't care how long it's gonna take for it to come out. We're gonna get people excited." And like their fan base has routinely proven it doesn't matter how long it takes, as long as they know something's coming.
Yeah.
And like that, I think that's partially why people are dying right now, because as of right now, there are no announced PlayStation 5 exclusives. Nothing. The only thing, well, sorry, first party exclusives, because the only announced one is what's coming out next month, and Xbox is making it for them. So, just with Deathloop. So for them, they're in this weird position where it's like, all right, we got to do something here. And I think, yeah, they need to announce something, but I'm not even sure the event they're looking for is going to be this year. I'm not even sure that's what it is.
See, I think PlayStation, I know Xbox is obviously experiencing it in the same way, but Xbox has a bunch of stuff that was down the pipelines for, 2020 that's coming out now that's kind of helping with this. Like Psychonauts 2 was retooled and, rebudgeted and is now coming out now, which really works well. They got some good third party deals coming to Game Pass with Hades, and then, Halo for holiday 2021, and then Forza Horizon 5 falling in ends up lining them up really nicely for the remainder of the year. And I think with PlayStation right now is I think they're kind of willing to take a bit of a hit and let third party carry them through the holidays. Because let's face it, they're not trying to nobody's trying to sell consoles right now. The next like 10 million Xboxes and PlayStations are already sold. You're not selling people on these next consoles. It's literally just stock right now. Is people are buying what comes in. People are buying what comes in. You're not selling people on these games. Now, when you have that stock available, you need to sell these consoles to your fans. And I think PlayStation is willing to take a hit on 2021 in order to have a better 2022. And that's why I think you'll see Horizon Forbidden West is your spring AAA blowout. You'll see Gran Turismo is going to be their big summer game. And then, fall, maybe optimistically, God of War, maybe. But I think that's how they want to kind of roll it out. But I do agree with your assessments. A lot of Sony's biggest studios shot their shot at the end of the PlayStation 4. Like that last year on PlayStation 4 was phenomenal. Like you think Last of Us Part 2, Ghost of Tsushima, Death Stranding, that's not first party, but still I'll put it in there. Like, there was a ton of great games at the end, but that also means you're looking at, Sucker Punch isn't going to have something outside of Ghost of Tsushima DLC till 2023, 2024. Naughty Dog's apparently working on Factions and a Last of Us remaster, maybe. And, it's just up in the air right now. And I think the PlayStation fans as a whole, since about 2017, have enjoyed that roadmap of knowing where things are going to fall in. And now that it's kind of a free open range, it's made some people very nervous. I don't think there's a reason to be nervous. But I think that's what you're seeing is because you're seeing a lot of open hostility in the fan spaces is because this is the first time where it's kind of been up in the air in terms of when things are going to roll out.
Yeah. I think you nailed it, dude. Like I really think you're on something there. Because with the PlayStation, okay, so the Xbox community versus the PlayStation community, at least in terms of the fan bases. The Xbox fan base is not really concerned about long-term issues. It's much more day-to-day, like 1 year at a time.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, we're normally okay with that. As a result, you normally see Microsoft do that process where it's like, hey, here's our E3 show. Here's the next year. Here's the next year and a half. Like you saw that for this E3 where they announced, hey, here's Halo, here's Forza, here's
everything they had else. Was everything it had was showing was basically should be released before the next E3, essentially.
Yep. Or we're getting there. So it's like, all right, cool. Like here's Starfield, that'll come out end of next year.
Yeah.
We got Redfall, which will come out summer next year. Like they are lining it up to show like, okay, here's what's gonna come out.
Mm-hmm.
And Xbox has traditionally done that. They focus more on the short term year to come. And right. Sony traditionally is always more about, what is it? Greatness awaits. Like that was the whole meme last generation, mm-hmm. where it was they are used to waiting. But as long as they know something's coming, they're okay. But they
Yeah.
want to know what's coming in advance.
Yeah.
And so they need years of time beforehand.
Hmm.
So they are used to doing that. Like games for them normally get announced like 2 years in advance.
Right.
It's not at all surprising.
Hmm.
So for them to do it one at a time, they are in an iffy spot right now. They're kind of worried. So yeah, I get it. So
Yeah.
anyway,
I just
but
think to basically wrap us up, like I understand people's concerns. I don't really understand it. I'm drowning in games that I want to play, so it's kind of hard for me to understand it a bit. But like, I understand when something's open ended like that, you kind of fear for the worst. And I know with leadership changes and everything at PlayStation, everyone's kind of like standoffish with the whole thing and, what's the direction of PlayStation and everything else. I think people just need to relax, see what happens, and then save your criticism for when we know what they're doing. Because sitting there and endlessly speculating what could or should or might happen is detrimental. And this is coming from someone who loved Xbox in 2017 when there was nothing to get excited about.
yep, right. I think it ultimately boils down to where do people see the value in their system?
Yeah.
Like where's the value in your system? And I think a lot of people on the Xbox side, they value the service.
Hmm.
They value the service aspect. Because like 2017, I was balling, man. I was like custom gamer picks. People don't remember that. I was like, I thought I was just blown away. I was like, yes, finally. And just little things, little changes. Like the service itself is what sold it. And with Sony, their value is in their exclusives.
Hmm.
And so as long as the value is coming, people are okay with it.
Hmm.
But whenever they don't see that value on the immediate horizon, they get scared.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So all right. I got another question here. This comes from Trevor Shingles. Um, Word on the street is Rockstar is going back to their catalog and remastering older titles, specifically GTA 3, Vice City, and San Andreas. Do you think it will be a remaster or a remake? Do you think it's going to be exclusive? Um, I mean, I never played those games, honestly. I don't know. Yeah, I never got into GTA.
Really? Okay. Okay.
Nope. First GTA I played was GTA 4, and I was not thrilled with it. Didn't bother finishing it.
But
And then
cousin, you
I played
don't
GTA
want to go
5.
bowling?
I thought that was funny. That was like my favorite part. I was like, oh yeah, like, but no, like the first GTA I liked playing was GTA 5, and even then, it's like, all right, that was cool. I'm
Yeah.
done. I
Yeah.
don't need any more.
Yeah, see, I was the complete polar opposite. Like, I started on the original GTA when I was a kid on PC when it
Yeah.
was like a top down. And like Vice
Mhm.
City was one of my favorites, and San Andreas is definitively my favorite GTA game. And GTA 4, I played like 3 hours of, and I was like, this is. Ew. And then GTA 5, I played for like 5 hours, maybe. And same thing, I just bounced off that too. So,
Yeah. No, I just thought that like I mean GTA is fun. They definitely got to the whole thing of like story actually matters to them.
mm-hmm.
Like about after GTA 4, that's when they started focusing on that a lot. And so like that's where we started seeing things like uh what Red Dead Redemption 2, GTA 5, like long story arcs.
GTA typically always had, I'm not going to say long story arcs, but 4 definitely kicked off a stronger narrative edge. Like Vice City had actually really good story, but I agree with you, it turned into like, in terms of its expansiveness, um, Red Dead and GTA 4 definitely kicked that into a bigger direction.
Yeah. Um so I would say like in terms of them like remaster or remake, I mean I'd love to see people actually do like a remake on older games. I mean that'd be cool, but no, I don't think they're gonna do that. I think a lot of places because we didn't stop them last gen. Yeah, you know me, I've been beating this drum since 2013 that doing all these remasters for just any game that comes along is not a good idea.
Hmm.
But I mean, here we are. We're just gonna remaster everything for easy money. I just really I don't I think these are gonna just be remasters like, oh look, 4K, same old polygon count and everything. Whoopee. Like I think it's gonna be something like that or cheap. Um I guess the most interesting part of the question is, do you think they might be exclusive to Sony or something like that?
No.
No, you don't think so?
No, I can't see Sony money hatting GTA, especially if they're just remasters. I can't see them money hatting a remaster collection, especially since this was linked. Like the original, one of the links to this is the fact it's coming to Switch. It was a Switch store page that really got this rumor ball going.
Mm. You think Nintendo money had it and it's actually Nintendo?
No, because basically it's all three. According to the Kotaku report, is that's Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas, and it's set to arrive on Stadia, Switch, PlayStation, Windows PC, Xbox, and mobile devices. So I can tell you right now, since it's coming to mobile devices, is definitively not a remake because they're not remaking that game for mobile devices. Those games for mobile devices. These will be at best a mix, maybe. Like the Kotaku report suggests the games will be a mix of new and old graphics, akin to a heavily modded version of a classic GTA title. Da, 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 da. There's even been rumors that have been flowing around that it's gonna be It's gonna be the GTA games ported into Unreal, and that feels really weird to me. If they just ported those games into Unreal and tried to work it that way, but I just I'm gonna temper my expectations. Like I really don't. I don't have a lot of faith in Rockstar these days to do anything outside of like milking money out of GTA 5 right now.
Yeah.
Like, where's my story expansion from 2013 that y'all promised?
Yeah. They promised a lot. Um, but no, I just think Rockstar. I don't see anybody doing anything. I think of value at least.
No,
Um, but yeah, like I don't have the nostalgia factor for it, so I don't like.
I don't.
I
I
think
don't.
it's more designed towards cashing on that nostalgia for people.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, I think it was like San Andreas was ported to like 360 or Xbox One and PlayStation 4. But if I remember correctly, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's the mobile version they ported. They didn't port the old console version. I believe they ported the mobile version, and it basically runs like dog tripe.
Mm,
So, like I said, I don't have a lot of hope. Um, just just make Max Payne 3 playable somewhere other than PC. For the love of God. Like,
yeah.
God damn it.
I never played Max Payne 3, but I've always wanted to. Everyone kept talking about it so much.
It's a completely average game in comparison to the first two games, but it's just the principle that you can't play it, but you can play the other two.
Yeah. But no, like I don't know. I think it's I don't know. People's priorities are all messed up, especially with a lot of these developers. So, all right. Next question. We got two more to go. Then we get into our main topic. So, Phil Spencer is abandoning AAA bangers confirmed. What have you got to say about that, cheaters? From our good friend Unlit Earl.
Is this about
I don't
the
know what they're
whole?
talking about.
Is this the Phil Spencer statement about how he doesn't want to make AAA PlayStation or the he doesn't want to put Xbox in a it needs to be Sony or it needs to be Nintendo box that everyone butchered into
I
oblivion?
would assume that's what they're talking about. I really don't know what they're talking about, but it sounds about right.
I just wish, for once, when Jim Ryan and Phil Spencer would say something, Like they do these long, eloquent interviews with whatever outlet gets the interview. And they have all these great points. Both of them, Jim Ryan, Phil Spencer, both of them do fantastic points of highlighting things about their ecosystem, about what they're doing as a company and everything else. And then all these other sites and YouTubers will grab one sentence out of that interview and pull it. And that becomes their content for the week. And that feels like all this is. Like, it is clear as day to me that Xbox isn't trying to be PlayStation. And that's fine. Like, I don't understand where people are like, well, they're just never going to have that AAA game. The hell's Starfield going to be? Like, the hell is like, I just don't understand where people are still drawing the fact that Xbox doesn't have AAA games in a year where Forza Horizon 5 and Halo Infinite are coming out. And I understand it's the whole Gears Halo Forza thing, but like, I just don't get it at this point in time. We're beating points from 2016 in 2021 like they still matter.
Yeah. No, I think it's one of those things where we're just still on the same bandwagon of what we're used to talking about, and we're just going to continue saying that over and over and over again. Um, I would say like, okay, I know like Matt Booty had like a quote, and they were talking about making um AAA games, like, or was I making AAA games like AA games? Um, we talked about this on the show specifically about why they're called AAA games. I believe you recall that conversation.
Yep.
I think what they're talking about is less about they're not focused on how much it sells, and they're more focused on getting the most bang for your buck.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like, hey, we're making these games. They may not be like an Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which requires 100 hours of your time, these super hyper detailed, long as hell games. But it's like, hey, this one may be a little more contained here, or this one may be like a little shorter in scope, but it's gonna be solid. Or they say, hey, look, we're not gonna make a game that's like super expensive. We're gonna focus on making a good game. If you look at the Xbox Game Studios group, when they were doing those acquisitions initially, all the studios that they acquired had one thing in common. They were making quality games on cheap budgets.
Mm-hmm.
They were used to making quality stuff, and they all had reputations not only of that, but of getting things done on time, if not early.
Mm-hmm.
Obsidian had that reputation. I know that Ninja Theory had that reputation, where they were making games for fairly cheap money but good quality.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like we talked about how like oh yeah, Hellblade is like a AAA experience, and it's only made by like what, like 5-6 people or something like that, or
Yeah.
13 people.
Yeah, I think it was like 13 people or something.
Yeah, like we keep talking about that, like, oh yeah, they did a good job, and so I think it's doing that specifically, like, hey, look, we're not having a giant budget for this game, but we're making it a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Like Obsidian got in trouble, like was it Obsidian? This is like the famous thing about like, oh yeah, with Fallout New Vegas, they didn't get their bonus because it didn't get an 85 Metacritic score,
Yeah.
but people don't realize how much hell Bethesda put them through
Mm-hmm.
to make that game. Like, what was it? They had like a time frame of like a year and a half to make it.
Yep.
It was like some like insanely short. And they not only made a game that I would argue is better than Fallout 3, but actually made like improvements on their own engine
Mm-hmm.
and the actual gameplay itself. The fact
Yep.
that it's aimed down sights of Fallout 3 doesn't,
Yeah.
that's insane.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think you're right, and I think the thing is I think Xbox's approach right now is they're not doing AAA for AAA's sake. Like they're not going to Tim Schafer and going, "All right, here's your $100 million budget. Now make a AAA game." They're like, "Okay, so Double Fine likes making this kind of game. We like you doing that. We're going to give you a bigger budget than you're used to dealing with, but still in the wheelhouse of where you are as a creator." And, if you want to grow this bigger, we'll grow this bigger with you. But it's more about playing into what those studios want to accomplish. And like you look at Ninja Theory appears from from viewing externally, looks like it wants to be a big, massive AAA machine. Because like you look at the new studio, the new mocap stuff they're doing, all this tech stuff they're doing, they want to be cutting edge, top of the line studio. So Xbox is like, hey, okay, this is what we want you to do. And I think people need to spend less time as a whole demonizing one way or another. I think we can live in an industry where Xbox Game Pass exists and people buy $70 games. I don't think one route necessarily has to fit anymore. We don't have to follow one way of doing business in the game industry anymore. I think that's what's so great about gaming right now is that if you want a ton of games at your disposal, you can use Game Pass. If you want to buy your games, you can buy your games. There's never been more options to consume the content you want to consume right now. And I think that a lot of the people that have had reactionaries to this whole Phil Spencer interview are just looking for a dead horse to angle their own personal views and opinions on it.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, it's like the fifth quote he's ever done about how he wants Xbox to be uniquely different.
Yeah, it's really not anything new. Yeah, and like right now, where Xbox is gonna beat PlayStation is they are gonna beat them on quantity. Like they have enough studios. So we've already calculated. If they don't acquire any more studios, they have enough studios to put out a game like every other month for 3 years. Like they could just do that.
Well,
That's assuming everyone gets a 3-year dev cycle.
well, even if you don't even take that into account, a perfect example is August right now. We're into Game Pass is kicking into. I'm not going to say it's final form, but it's kicking into gear. Like you look, last week we had, God help me, this week's Hades. Last week was something else. We've got 12 minutes next week, which is going to be interesting. I don't know how that game's going to review, what that game's going to be like. We've got Psychonauts 2 the week after. Like, there's a big game on Game Pass that people are anticipating, whether it be on the industry side or the fan side, every week this month for August. And August is a slow month. We're not even talking about for when Back for Blood comes out or when Halo Infinite drops and everything else. Like, it's going to be different.
Yep.
And that's fine.
Yep. I think also more importantly, like Game Pass has seen a lot of growth for not having any games.
Yeah. No, I agree
Like
with
that's
you.
the thing, like it's like all they've been doing is third-party deals and it keeps growing.
Yep.
And like the third-party deals aren't gonna stop anytime soon. They're still going to do those deals. But yeah, once you start getting the first parties out there on a regular basis, like they're gonna demolish Sony in terms of quantity. Like
Yep.
it's gonna be a lot and a fairly regular.
Well, and see, the thing is if they can hit a lot on the regular and hit good quality games time after time after time, it's going to be hard to argue the value, especially when you start talking about RPGs. Like you start talking like Starfield, Fable, Avowed. Like, when these start dropping, people are going to start paying attention. Like, this service can only grow up because of the titles that are going to be tied to it. Like, we're talking, this thing grew because of Outriders, which was a no-name new IP from Square Enix, from People Can Fly. Like, that was a big Game Pass push. Wait till we actually start seeing games that people are highly anticipating. They're big games. It's going to be interesting, and I'm interested to see what the breakdown's going to be. I'm interested to see what January looks like of 2022 in terms of Game Pass subscriber numbers.
Mm-hmm. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about it. It's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I guess moving to our last question for this time. What do you guys think about Hades' release on console from Grimace? Did you guys play Hades at all?
I have it installed. I'm playing it tonight after the show.
Yeah.
Sam wrote a really good review about it. I wasn't gonna play it, but now I feel inclined to play it. So
Yep.
I'm gonna give it a shot and see what happens. It looks really good. I'm seeing a lot of people having a great time, just like they did last year with it. So
Yeah. I don't really like roguelikes. I don't even like just top down slashers or
mhm.
anything like that, honestly. I've been playing it kind of off and on today. I played it now actually. It's fun. I think why reviewers and other people really got on board with it is that it's really heavy on story, which is kind of weird for a roguelike. Um, like there's a level where the roguelike kind of fits into it and it makes sense, but this one is unique. I would say it's very interesting. Um, I'm I don't know. I really like it so far. Um, and it's also I think where the part where it gets interesting because normally like with roguelikes and stuff, you don't normally get stronger as time goes on.
Mhm.
Normally you're just kind of like, all right, well, I learned a lesson. I know how to handle this one. I know which power up is good for this scenario. But you could actually get more out of it. Um, for example, like you collect darkness, and when you die, the darkness stays with you, and then you can upgrade parts of yourself for future runs.
Mm.
And it's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be more powerful. The game kind of revolves on you dying at some point.
Mhm.
Like you're gonna have to die, and you get there's story elements to it that come out of it when you die.
So
So it's interesting.
so it almost makes like rewards you for dying. It's like, hey, it's okay that you died. Here's some more background. Here's some stuff to keep you going, kind of push you forward.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, and like you get to meet people. Like so, the way it's set up, if you don't know the story at all, you're playing as Prince Zagreus, I think is what his name is pronounced. He's the son of Hades, and he's trying to escape Tartarus and the realm of the underworld and go to Olympus. Um, you not only like your dad every time you die, your dad kind of mocks you, like, why are you trying to leave? Like, what are you doing? Like he's kind of there. Um, and then like the other Olympian gods are like trying to they give you benefits and one ups and power ups and stuff, and they normally talk to you. It's interesting. Like there's a certain elements too where you'll be given like okay, Poseidon will have one, and then Zeus gives you one, but you'll go in a room where there's two of them, and you have to choose which one you want. And if
Mm.
whichever one you don't pick, you're gonna piss off that person.
Oh.
So there's a social element. So like I like Poseidon's power ups more. Like I did that, and Zeus got pissed, and so he sends guys to kill me because of that. Like oh you threw off my my thing there. And so the thing is, if you normally can clear that challenge, like all right, I forgive you, and like you'll move on from there. So it's interesting. I like it. It's a good time.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, like there's a lot of extra depth to this, and so it's like yeah, that's fun. Like it kind of, I think that's why people really dig it more than others. Namely just because it gives people options
Mhm.
and it's not a hard like get good scrub kind of game. It lets it so like hey encounters are going to be easier the longer you play.
Right. So someone who's good at roguelikes, for example, could breeze through this in say 20 hours, whereas if you struggle with it, it's going to take you more time, but you will get there if you stick with it, kind of deal.
Yep, like you'll eventually get through it. Like you can level yourself up to be so powerful you'll be okay.
Hmm.
But like
Interesting.
if you don't want to be that way you can.
Right.
Like if you want to like oh yeah through the grit of my teeth I'm going to get by you could do that.
Options, basically.
Yeah. I,
Nice.
I think that's a sign of a good game where they're like, all right, we're gonna make sure that like if you want to be sweaty, you could be sweaty. If you want to like have a good time, like you can relax and chill out, and have a good time.
Look, I'm a 300-pound man who loves tacos. Like, I sweat all the time, but not necessarily in video games, so I'm good with these options.
So anyway, I believe that takes us to our main topic, sir. What's on the agenda this time, Nick?
I don't know. I've been abandoned. I've been forgotten. I've been defeated. Man, I ain't gonna lie. I've enjoyed watching this roll out because after you and me did some great insight reporting into some of this, I noticed a Game Radar piece came out there a couple days ago that kind of treaded over a lot of the stuff we went through, and then also dug up some more stuff from further back, and that was a really well done piece and everything else. But at this point in time, if you think this is Silent Hill and Kojima, you're delusional. And the reason I'm 100% on board with this now is because of a thread from Doc on this.
Oh, I haven't read the thread. Please, I want to see this.
So
tell me about it.
Basically, and I'm not going to direct read the thread of tweets, but if you follow Doc Squiddy on Twitter, you know his eloquent threads that he does. And
these are long ass threads, by the way.
And he basically said there's the main reason that he knows Abandoned isn't done by Kojima is because Kojima historically does not repeat over himself multiple times. Like doing the exact same gimmick over and over and over again is not a Kojima thing.
Yeah.
And it would not also be done this poorly. Yeah. And also the fact that, as he said, and when I thought about it, it makes sense. The whole preface that Kojima would set aside all his issues with Konami, all the bullying and everything he went through with them, to then work with them again and then do something this elaborate on top of it is utterly ridiculous.
Yeah. It would also seem just really petty that it's like you left and then less than 5 years later you're back.
Yeah, like that
comes off really weak.
It would come off like, oh look, you went out and tried to do something on your own. You didn't really do as big as you could have. Come back to daddy now. That is not at all a vibe I get from Kojima right now. And you know, I've got to laugh. I've got to laugh at this whole app rollout because everyone was telling me, like, people are DMing me and being like, you're going to learn today. You're going to learn about how exciting the future of this game is. And I'm like, okay, cool. So this goddamn app is supposed to release at such and such a time. People are all loaded up. It's trending on Twitter. Everyone's excited as hell. And then there's nothing. Oh, sorry, we have to patch our app. What? And then they patch it like 2 days later, and it shows the same 3-second clip that they posted on Twitter 4 days before. And that's it.
And I was dead after that. I was like, I couldn't believe it. And only 4 seconds?
4 seconds. And they're like, a trailer coming soon, but they have no date on this next trailer. But people are like, oh my God, he's dressed like Sunderland from Silent Hill. It's clearly a sign. See, there's Pyramid Head in the floorboards. I'm like, you know, at this point, you're believing what you want to see. Like,
yeah, I'm just waiting for it to come out that this is like a pre-rendered asset from the Unity store. That's all I'm waiting for.
Well, it's
like,
already
they didn't even make anything.
Well, it's already been stated from several indie developers that a lot of the screenshots for Abandoned are base forest images from Unreal Engine.
Yep.
Like,
we know that. We know all the images and stuff are basically just stuff from before, which is hilarious because it was like people were saying like, oh, see, like in this thing on the graffiti on the wall, it blocks out S and H, so that means Silent Hill. And it's like, but they bought it from the store. Like, it was gonna say that before.
and see, that's the thing, is like, it's one of those things where if you want to believe, to see something, you will look through as many layers of glass as you can till you see what you want to see.
Yeah.
And that's the level of ridiculousness this is getting to at this point. And I think Actually, I don't even think. I know this studio is laying way too much into it. And they're just
Yeah.
milking it for every ounce they can get.
Yeah. But
Because,
I can't even blame them for that, honestly, because it's okay, look, people started making the connection that it's Silent Hill or Kojima or whatever, and they were upfront about it. They said, nope, we're not working with Kojima. Nope, nope, this is not that. No, we're not related. And they did that three different times. They've come out and stated that, like, we're not Kojima, we're not doing that project. No, we're not working with Konami or anybody. And people just don't listen. People didn't listen. So at this point, like, why not? Why not play into it?
yeah,
Because they're gonna be mad anyway.
yeah.
And all you
Well,
gotta do is say, "Hey, we told you. We said it wasn't gonna be this, but you guys won't stop. So fine, might as well play into it." So I can't even be mad for that. What I can be mad about is how they just treat people.
yep.
Like it's terrible. But I think more importantly, we like okay, you and I did digging, and this is kind of like what kind of pushed cheat code radio to existence, sort of, where it's like okay, we looked at the blue box specifically. We did the research on them before anybody else did. Like I was even Jason Schreier's piece was after we wrote ours, so it was just kind of funny. um, but no, we really looked into this, and they have a track record of abandoning projects, which is hilarious given the name. Um, so yeah, just a little bit of backstory here. I have a link to some stuff. Um, so first off, I want to put out this Reddit post someone made on it. They were talking about when they were making games. I'm gonna read it just verbatim. Um, let's see. It says throughout the development timeline of the Rewind series, we find multiple titles: Rewind, Voices of the Past, Lost Tapes, The Whisperer, and finally Abandoned. Seems like there's a trend here. With this preface done, let us refer to the first game and specifically the company that it was advertised as first, Tiny Particles. That's what Blue Box used to be called.
Mhm.
All links will be in the text. Simply too much for TLDR, but we noticed that with each game and then subsequent cancellation, the dev changed until finally sticking to Blue Box Game Studios. We had to ask why it was that a developer with seven different companies they've worked with. We could only find three online and 50 plus employees, but we could only find one employee, Hassan, is not able to work on the delay of localization when they supposedly provided competent work in the past. With all the links we provided and images to show the path this idea that he's had changed over and over. We want to know that you guys think of it all. It's definitely really shady, and we really can't ignore it because the scale of this is unprecedented. This is one thing that this is why you and I had such a hard time finding more information on him because Blue Box kept changing their name. They have this whole history involved, and I think that's what's so funny about it. So the timeline of events goes all the way back to 2015, and PlayStation. Oh, sorry, for Kojima fans will know. Oh, 2015. That's the year that they did a breakup. The breakup with Konami and Kojima. That's the same time frame. I mean, yeah, but Blue Box under Tiny Particles announced a horror game called Rewind. They delayed a playable teaser for this game because of quote technical issues. Said it'll have VR, then announced that they canceled that or canceled VR support. They canceled a Kickstarter. Said the game development is quote on halt, and they'll tell us when development continues. Said they have a new project. Announces that development is resumed, and the game just never releases, and they delete the website and scrub everything from their existence. They pretend that they don't exist. Later in 2015, they announced a PC as a PC exclusive horror game called The Lost Tape. Said they will stream gameplay soon. The game never comes out, and they delete their Indiegogo website. 2017, they announced a new horror game called The Whisperer coming out June 2017. Game never comes out. 2018 announces multiplayer horror game Unseen Faces. Game never comes out. 2019 releases a broken mobile app called Tales of the Six Swords. They stole an anime character art and made it the app's icon. Said an update is coming to this non-working app, and then they removed the app from the store. And 2020, so this is what you and I reported on because all we could find about them. They released a horror game called The Haunting on Steam in early access. The game gets like 100% negative reviews, and they removed the buy option on it. There's a big update is coming very soon, and they delay the update. And then the update is never released. They quit developing it and give the game to Create Q Interactive to finish it, which they're claiming is a fake studio. It didn't finish. They didn't finish development either. But I double checked it. They have not posted any updates about it.
No.
It's basically just
And,
halted.
and actually, Create Q Interactive actually has something on their site now stating they have nothing to do with the game's development. They actually have like the Dutch company Create Q Interactive actually has a disclaimer saying no, we are not part of a of a Silent Hill game. We are not leading development on this PC game, etc., etc. They have a
Yep.
disclaimer now because of this.
Mm-hmm. Man, I see like three different ways in terms of how this could be. So part of me is like, okay, there's a malevolent streak to it. Like, okay, someone's trying to like, okay, make this a big issue. Um, so by malevolent, I mean like, okay, yeah, we're gonna take advantage of this situation where it's like, yeah, we're gonna steal people's money and we're gonna build up our business. So you're messing with people. Like that's what we're gonna do. And like, where it's like, okay, we're gonna create this thing where people think it's related to Kojima or something like that. And I just don't think that's what it is. I
Mm,
just don't see that. Part of me is like this is a company that's trying to figure out what to do, and their whole goal is based around how do we focus our what they don't have any money or resources to actually make anything, and what they're really hoping for is someone to swoop in and fund their project.
mm,
I think that's been their whole game strategy the entire time, where it's like, hey, we go out there, we announce a trailer, someone sees it, and they want to invest in it. So like the whole thing of them in 2015 doing it's a VR game. They're hoping like either Sony or Valve might swoop in and
mhm,
pick them up, say, hey, we're making a VR game, give us support, give us some money. Like I think that's what they were hoping for, and that just didn't work. And they've been trying that strategy every time, but they don't get anywhere because they don't have the funds to get there.
mhm,
Um, I think that is the problem, and this most recent game is just a testament to that, where they said, "Hey, let's make a game and make it Silent Hills inspired, and people will make a connection to it because they'll have like a semi close feeling with it,
mhm.
where it's not definitely not Silent Hill, but they'll see a connection to it, and then people will think it's more important that like, oh, this might be a Silent Hill revival or something like that." And people took it a whole nother level and bumped into the Kojima thing, and they just said, you know what, we're tired of telling people we're not Kojima, we'll just do it. What I'm increasingly starting to believe, it's a mixture of that and Blue Box doesn't exist. I think it's just Hassan. I think he's the only actual person. Because like out of all these companies, the 7 different companies that were working on these games, he's the only person we can track. And every time they ask him about how many people are working on the game, he can't name anybody else. Oh, they're just contractors. Oh, they're other people. None of these are actual companies. Or like, oh, he doesn't actually have any other employees. I think that's what it is. I think it's a guy who is trying to make a game and can't afford to do anything else and just wants to launch a game company but can't get things off the ground, but is not willing to admit that's the scenario. Where it's like, okay, dumb situation. So like, let's say Stardew Valley. Stardew Valley was made by one guy,
Mhm.
but instead of admitting this is one guy who's making a game, what if he lied to us? Say, well, it's actually 30 different people, and we all made this one game, but I'm the only employee that you can see. Don't worry about it. Like I think people look at it weird, right?
Mhm.
That would, it's, I don't know. Maybe it's people who are concerned with like how they are viewed as
See,
people.
here's the thing. Like back 5 or 6 years ago, I could kind of see why you would hide if you were a sole developer on a project. There was kind of this whole sneer towards indie games in like 2013, 2014, right? 2015, indie games kind of started becoming popular, and now it's a common thing. Like, there's games like My Friend Pedro was made by one guy, Death's Door was made by two guys. Uh, it's the same thing, right? It's like the amazing projects are coming out of smaller and smaller studios. Um, I don't know what to say because here's the thing. I don't want to assume like Hassan's like a con artist or this is some gimmick that
I
he's
don't think he
chasing
is.
because
I don't think he's a con artist.
because
But yeah.
I've seen two angles on this is that it's a Konami Kojima tie-in or this is a con artist thing. But the reason I don't believe he's a con artist is because there's no monetary value he's gotten from this yet.
Mhm.
Like he's not taking pre-orders, he's not taking wherever the case may be. The one consistency though that has been for Blue Box is their tendency to delete not only their game companies but tweets, everything else. Because if you look through Blue Box's history before they cleansed their timeline about a month after all this stuff started rolling out, they were answering questions about fixing their PC early access game. And then all of a sudden they just change gears. The only thing that leaves me completely and utterly confused is the PlayStation connection.
Mhm.
Because, and I'm not going to say everybody at PlayStation's perfect or put anyone on a pedestal that way, but usually in the indie side of things, they only mess with the best in terms of their indie developers. And to just watch PlayStation just kind of sit to the side and watch like Yoshida's dodged so many questions this week about Abandoned
Mhm.
and everything else. And people are like, oh, since he's dodging questions, clearly he knows it's Silent Hill. I'm like, no, he's clearly not saying anything because he's not publicly allowed to say anything, or he couldn't publicly slight a developer they have under contract.
Yeah. Well, I'm not. Well, the thing is, I think with him specifically, as we've learned over the last month or so, because we had that one indie dev who came out, it was like, I can't get any promotion from Sony whatsoever
Mm,
for my game on their store. Like I have to pay them $14,000 or something like that to get anything.
yeah,
And they've established that you can pay to get a blog post.
right.
So I would not be surprised if Hassan saved up some money to pay for a blog post.
See, here's the thing. And once again, this is making assumptions. Just because the studio's based out of the Netherlands and stuff, there is a fair amount of grant money that gets thrown around for the arts in the Netherlands. My father's Dutch, so I know a bit about how the Netherlands works in terms of its, you know, money handouts, everything else. And France
Yep.
and the Netherlands do pay out to game developers and artists a lot. They have a lot of programs to help, artists get projects off the ground. So did he, because I don't think PlayStation has ever openly said they're partnered with Abandoned. This is just a
No, I didn't see
PlayStation
anything like that.
like that blog post was like we're making this game for PlayStation 5. And
Yeah.
the blog post wasn't written by like the head of PlayStation or the head of like PlayStation Indies or anything. It was written by Hassan, if I remember correctly.
Mhm.
So maybe PlayStation's just letting this run its course because he did just pay for a blog post. They don't care. The game's coming to PlayStation eventually. They don't really
Yeah.
care. The thing is, though, is with how heavy they're leaning into Silent Hill, I'm really surprised Konami's not biting at them. Because Konami's
Mhm.
had a pretty heavy track record of being, let's face it, anything including legally heavily handed when it comes to their IPs. Because that's all they have right now is
I
their
would
IP.
I would think it's benefiting them though. So okay, here's why. I think with them they want this to continue because all right, let's think best case, worst case scenario. So best case scenario, somehow Hassan has convinced Konami to give him the IP. This is best case scenario, and he's working with Kojima and whatever. And all of this is just promotion for that game, and that's fine. So on the flip side, the not as bad scenario, sorry, or the not as good but still okay. He's working on it, and Kojima's not involved, and it works still to their benefit because it's getting Silent Hill out there again. But worst case scenario, he's not working on Silent Hill. He's not working with Kojima or anything like that.
Mhm.
All it's doing is getting attention for Silent Hill, which, as you and I know, Blooper Team has got. Blooper Team has locked down Silent Hill, and that's the project they're working on. This is just building up hype for that project. Because when Hassan comes out there and people realize, oh wait, this isn't Silent Hill, they're gonna hate him, and they're gonna destroy them. But then what's gonna happen ultimately is that whatever Silent Hill does get announced, people are like, yes, this is what we've been waiting for.
So what you're saying is that Konami is willing to feed Hassan to the wolves because they could sell more merch. Because let's face it, they've been rolling out merch through this whole thing for Silent Hill, and then when this all crumbles below him, they'll have a perfect launching pad for bringing Silent Hills back. So
Here was the fake guy. This is the real one.
so basically, what they're doing is you're saying is the reason why Konami hasn't taken legal action against Blue Box in terms for this is because basically they're doing free publicity and interest gauge level on where people are at for this.
Exactly. It's a good litmus test for how much marketing dollars they should put into it.
Shit.
So, let's take it away and let's think about something else. So, let's say, what's the game people want?
Metal Gear Solid, apparently, because there's a guy with an eye patch and an announcement.
Well, okay, so let's say I'm trying to think of something completely unrelated. So let's say you're Rockstar and you don't know if people are interested in another Max Payne game.
Right.
And it's like, look, it's been almost a decade, right, since the last one?
Yep.
It's been almost a decade since the last Max Payne. You don't know if people still like this kind of game. Like, why would you bother? And so it's like, okay, let's say, oh yeah, here's another bald protagonist, doing some bullet time stuff, and people see that and they're basically saying it's Max Payne, but it's not Max Payne. His name's I don't know,
Gary
Todd Chronic or something. I don't know.
Gary Payne.
Or just something like that, where it's like, all right, cool. All you're doing is kind of just building up anticipation and hope for another Max Payne game. Or let's say Remedy's like, oh yeah, we're working on another bullet time game, focusing on a shooter. All you're doing is this is all just market research for them.
So hold on, to prove a benefit to your point. So kind of like how Remedy did the DLC with Control, where they're like, oh look, it's Alan Wake. You guys remember Alan Wake? Do you guys like Alan Wake?
Mm-hmm. The same kind of thing. It's like it's an opportunity to kind of see what happens here. You know, maybe you're interested. See how well it plays.
Yeah.
The Sunset Overdrive stuff and Ratchet and Clank. Yeah, it's an Easter egg, but if people reacted really positively to it, then maybe maybe we make a Sunset Overdrive too.
Yeah, I ain't even gonna cap. When I played Ratchet and Clank 2, you had an option to change the nuts to various Insomniac Games related IP skins, and my stuff that I picked up was fizzy cans the entire time. It's great.
Yeah, it's all market research. They can track that.
Yeah.
Like I say, hey, people got a connection to it. Let's maybe there's some time to do that. But hey, and if you don't have to pay for it and someone else is willing to take the hit for it, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and ultimately here, and I just fall in the
movies off of that, dude. There were Pixels with Adam Sandler and all that stuff.
Oh yeah,
2012.
Yep.
Remember that was a video somebody made.
Yep.
Someone made a video of classic video game creatures made of giant pixels eating random buildings and things.
Yep.
and people responded to that very positively. So they made a whole movie on it
Yeah.
with that as the whole premise. So that's not surprising at all.
And I think the problem, it's not even a problem. I feel bad for Abandoned because it falls into this thing where I feel like maybe Hassan rushed into this and got swept up in the hype. Because when you go from being a developer, like, it'd be like for me, I've been a podcaster and a writer for like 4 or 5 years. I've never had a hit, so to speak. Like, I've never had that breakout appearance or I've never been the spotlight. So all of a sudden, for no particular reason, all of a sudden people think I'm best friends with Ryan McCaffrey or someone who's big in the podcasting scene. And all of a sudden people are paying attention to every single thing I do. It'd be hard not to lean into that. And I think that's ultimately what happened with Hassan. It was like, wow, people are paying attention to what I'm doing. People are genuinely interested in this game. And that's exciting for him. But people are excited for it for the wrong reasons. Like, if people are like, I'm excited because it's a new indie horror game. Cool. But
Yep.
oh, they're doing it through an app. That's really different. But like, when you're talking about, and the reason why I don't believe this is PlayStation funded is there is no way in hell PlayStation will roll out a market where they do an app, they have to patch it, and then it's just the same trailer you uploaded. Especially after you're sitting there going, oh, it uses 3D audio and DualSense features. That's why you need an app to use it. Like,
Yeah, 4 seconds.
yeah, you need a 5 GB patch for a 4 second clip. Like, that does not scream a marketing campaign. That screams someone who is in way over their head trying to deliver in a timeline. Because I feel like this timeline has become so rushed because people are down their throats 24/7.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't something they can tease and forget about. Everyone's talking about Blue Box almost every day.
Yeah. I think the issue is Hassan is too proud to admit he's the only real employee. But he's the only one we could find. Like, he's
Yeah.
the only guy we could find. Everyone else is like, because they've had other videos, other people came out. They're like, oh yeah, I'm working on this project, but I'm not like employed
Yeah.
by them. Like, Hassan's a real person. Like, they're all like to say, all right, cool. That's all it really is. That's fine. But I think he's just too proud to admit it's a small project. There's not a lot of people, and they're working on it.
Look,
A lot of people are like that. Like, they don't want to admit they're struggling or having a hard time.
yeah, and there's nothing. I understand personal pride. It's hard to swallow your personal pride, especially when you step into shoes that may be too big for your feet to fill at the time you step into them. I understand that, but to me, if this was Silent Hill and this was Kojima, then Jeff Keighley would have had first dibs on this. This would have been a Summer Games Fest
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
Kojima was at Summer Games Fest showing off Death Stranding director's cut. And that's what he talked about. And, there is, oh, but, Norman Reedus had the Dutch flag in the director's cut edition, and all this other small, minute details and everything else. It's far too much to be a coincidence. But I deeply implore people to remove their emotional involvement from this and just see how it plays out. Because, in a weird world, could I be wrong? Absolutely. I could be absolutely wrong. This could be Silent Hills. This could be Kojima. But I'm 99.9% sure with my soul that it's not. And I think people just need to get to that. And any content creators who continue to fuel this conspiracy at nothing less to drive that this is Silent Hills and this has to be Kojima are at the bottom, at minimum, irresponsible, at the very least.
We just go ahead and talk about it. It's MBG. We all know. Like,
yeah, no.
So here's an example. So, for those of you that do not know, MBG or Musclebound Gamer used to be an Xbox YouTuber. I know because back when I was working for Tick, I asked him to jump on the show with us. That's all he was. He was an Xbox YouTuber. Then he switched sides when he saw the tables were turning in terms of his audience. Like, he wasn't breaking into the Xbox community that well. So he switched over to PlayStation. That's what he did. People don't know that because people have short-term memories, but that's what happened. Um, so with him, he has been playing to the PlayStation community side for so long. Whenever initially Abandon got announced, he was pushing Hassan. Like I remember him harassing Hassan on PlayStation. Like he was sending him messages, trying to get in party chats, like doing all this nonsense, just trying to get attention. And like every single tweet they ever made, he's in the comments there. Like he was pushing them. He got to the point he talked to them, but it's either one of two things happened. Either Hassan was like very cagey about Kojima, the Kojima involvement, or if it was Silent Hill or anything like that. Either he was extremely cagey about it, and MBG just said, "You know what? I'm going to ignore that, and I'm going to keep saying it's Kojima," or he was straight up told this is not Kojima, and he just ignored that for hype.
Well, see, here's the thing. I won't. I've never even interacted with MBG in my life or anything like that.
Oh,
But
I've had to correct him on several things because frankly, he's an idiot. Like he doesn't know how anything works, and he's just a armchair guy. I've taken time out of my day to correct him on certain things, like in terms of how game development works.
mm,
Just basic level stuff. And no, he really doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just an armchair critic. That's
well,
all it is.
and armchair critics are a dime a dozen in this day and
Yep,
age.
exactly.
But I think it's very interesting that and telling to me of how Hassan leans into certain things, because if you look at the Blue Box Twitter account, it only follows like 12 people, I think. And it's like Jeff Keighley, follows 15 people. Uh, it
Yeah, I know
follows,
MBG's one of them.
yeah, Alana Pierce, Xbox, PlayStation, Jeff Keighley, MBG, Hassan, IGN, Unreal Engine, Decogon, Noir Studio, which were the two studios that were apparently working in subcontract with Blue Box Games. Rami Ishmael, who's the prominent indie developer. John Finger, who I don't even know who that is. Mark Delaney, who works for GameSpot and a freelancer for the Washington Post. And most interesting, James Jarvis, who's the head of Future, which owns sites like PC Gamer, Windows Central, and etc.
Yeah, basically anybody who want to get a comment.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, like, it is what it is at this point. We're not going to see a trailer for a while. They didn't put a timeline on the trailer. This was supposed to be the big reveal, and I feel like this reveal was a letdown by a mile. Because if this was Konami and Silent Hill and everything else, I feel like they'd read the room. People are sick of this now. It was cool to be kind of piecemealed along, but people are like, all right, if you have something, show it. Otherwise, shut up. And that's where I'm at with this. Like, I am beyond done writing about this. I'm done talking about this until they actually show us something of substance that's worth talking about, other than stuff that can drive a conspiracy theory forward.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about conspiracy theories. Like, if you really want to, you can keep finding things to support your theory. Like, remember, every time there was a delay, like there was always a reason for the delay. Like, oh yeah, actually, this new date, this would be like the anniversary of when PT launched, or like, oh, this one will be the anniversary when they announced Silent Hill the first time. Like, every date has significance at this point.
Look, and obviously they're just playing into it at this point because the eye patch guy photoshopped into the back of the one image. It's like,
definitely.
It's like you are playing into this. This is not subtle.
Yeah, but I say that's a good part. That's a good idea on his part. Might as well. Like,
Yeah.
if people don't want to listen, you might as well play into it.
Yeah. Like, look, Abandoned and Blue Box Games were two of the top trending things on Twitter that day. Top trending. Yep. What indie studio gets that attention?
I don't know, man. Like they got the attention.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think now it's backfired.
Yeah.
They've really kind of burned themselves, at least now. But yeah, I think a lot of it is not even their fault. I think it's just people don't want to listen. But I think more importantly, and this is the part I want to really focus on for a second. This ultimately boils down to Sony and the position their fan base is in. Because no Xbox guy was excited about this. Find me one person who was. Like, find me one Xbox guy who was excited about it.
I don't really count as an Xbox guy, so
Yeah, I know you're more of a, was that PC cuck or something like that? I don't know what the term is.
I don't know.
I don't know what they call them nowadays.
I no, I'm worse. I'm a games journalist, so I'm like lower than the
Oh,
low.
dang. But no, like it's for them, they're just in this really shitty position. Think about it from, like, if you're an Xbox guy watching this, detach yourself for a minute. And we kind of talking about this for all of today. We've been kind of beating around the bush here, but I'm gonna try to explain it in terms that might make more sense. Think of it like Xbox 2014, 2015 for us, where it was there's not a lot of positive hype right now, and everything we were hearing announce wise was Halo, Gears, Forza. That's all we kept hearing about. Like they teased some other stuff, but it largely wasn't anything interesting for us. The major difference this time is with Sony guys, they're in a position where they don't have any announcements. No matter how much people say this, people say, "Oh, E3 doesn't matter. We don't care about E3. I'm going to be busy playing Ratchet and Clank. I'm going to miss the conference anyway." Like all that stuff. E3 did matter because it helped Xbox sell units in June. I mean, they beat PlayStation because of that. I think right now for PlayStation guys, they want something so bad to be excited for, and they don't have anything. And so they are looking for anything to be excited about. And this just happened to be it. Where this is what they got, and that's what they were stuck with. And they wanted it to be real so bad. I mean, as you and I both know, like with Sony, there's the rumored PlayStation event that keeps getting announced and doesn't come.
June, July, August. You and me have talked about this endlessly. Like, realistically, I
Yep.
think you and me talked even. I was gonna say May, where you and me were talking that we figured PlayStation would shoot its shot in August, September more than June.
Yeah. But yeah, they are so behind right now. And the community, the PlayStation community wants something so bad, and Sony is not giving it to them, that this is just what they harped on, and this is what they focused on, even though it's not anything feasible. And I think that's why you're seeing people run away with this so much. That's why you're seeing people talk about it all the time, because that's all they really have going on. And it's not like it's a bad thing either. Like they just don't have anything else. And so like, you got to give a little bit of compassion to them, but they kind of set themselves up here.
See, I view it two ways for this. In terms of like the PlayStation versus Xbox thing, I think, this coming together in a point in time where we're seeing constant rumors that, Kojima's working with Xbox next and that, he isn't in fact locked down to PlayStation and everything else. I know some people battle with that, but I think with Abandoned especially is a lot of people, and of course this is going to be more PlayStation orientated because this was exclusive to PlayStation at the time. There is a lot of people that are lost in the sauce of what PT could have been. And
Yeah.
people are constantly I don't blame them. It's one of the best demos I ever played. I get it 100%. And the potential that could have been in that game because of, Kojima and Del Toro writing and everything else to a Silent Hill game, like the potential there was incredible. And I understand why people are chasing that, but we have to let it go because even if that was to happen, the magic in the bottle that was PT is gone. We need to stop chasing a demo from 2016, 2017. We need to just let it go and focus on what's in front of us because the people that I'm seeing they're hyping Abandon to be Silent Hill aren't career Silent Hill fans. These aren't people that grew up playing the games. These aren't people that have a history with the franchise. These are people that played PT and realized there's a phenomenal horror experience and they want that again. They're chasing that. And I understand wanting it to be real. Like, don't get me wrong. I was not one of the first, but I was a huge contrarian at the point of this going, this isn't Kojima and this isn't Konami. This isn't Silent Hill. And it just, I understand people get excited for a lot of stuff, but we need to learn to set our expectations back. And I know the whole, we shouldn't have to manage our expectations. We're fans. I get that, but there's a certain level of intelligence you have to have with it. And like,
Yep.
I don't see where anyone's drawing this conclusion from anymore other than intentional teases that are clearly made to direct you in a specific way. But
Yep. So, I have nothing else to talk about with Abandoned.
no.
Pretty much.
We're
I'm pretty much
we're
full.
gonna abandon this topic till next week when it will be reportedly at the August 19th State of Play event.
Yeah. So we'll see how that works. All right, let's close out with our poll question for this week. Please go vote on it this time, guys. I expect more than a 100% vote for Halo, please. So I expect a little bit more. So question is, has Hassan abandoned? Is this a Kojima ploy? Who's really behind all of this? Killer Kojima, option 1. Big Boss Hassan, number 2. Or it was Jim Ryan all along.
Why is the final one phrased like a Scooby-Doo end of an episode? Like,
oh, I love Scooby-Doo, man.
Oh,
like
yeah.
I'm all in on Scooby-Doo.
I am too.
Like, oh, dude, like one of my favorite sub theories is after the 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, Shaggy and Daphne have been in a relationship the entire time. That's why Scrappy-Doo is gone. They had to have him murdered because he was gonna tell Fred that Daphne was cheating on him with Shaggy. Because during that series, it's just Daphne, Scooby, Scrappy, and whatever his name was. But yeah, it was just the few of them. And like Scooby wasn't going to rat on his brother, but Scrappy was. So they got rid of Scrappy. They never talk about him again. It's the gang's secret.
Wow, this podcast took a turn.
Oh, I love Scooby-Doo random, not trivia necessarily, but random stuff. But the funny part is, like, once you start watching, especially recent things, basically everything after 13 Ghosts, they always go out of their way to include Shaggy and Daphne together, and it's always somehow sweet. Like, what is it? Mystery Incorporated. There's this whole thing where like Shaggy gets possessed by like another thing and has like this romantic moment with Daphne. And it's really random. It's like, that's awkward. Or like they'll include things where like Shaggy's always like carrying Daphne in some capacity. It's so weird. Or they do that in almost every series at some point, and they always like look at each other in this weird way, like beyond just friends.
Huh.
It's
Yeah.
just, it's very awkward.
Yeah.
Once you notice it, you can't go back. Like,
great. I look
Yeah.
forward to never being able to go back again.
Yep. So anyway, other than that, Um,
Yeah, that wraps us up
what's that?
basically.
Closing thoughts?
Uh, no, no, I think we're good. So
All
if you
right,
want to do
cool.
your outro there,
All right. Well, I'm Ivan Siler. You can find me Anchorman V2 on Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo Switch, whatever. Multiverse Show on Twitter. We go live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on Mondays. Um, Go and ask me questions and stuff, and we do talk about random stuff. Yeah.
absolutely. And I'm Nicholas Downie. You can find me on Twitter at Nicholas_Downie. You can find my written work over at lordsofgaming.net. And you can find my other podcast, The Gaming Perspective, on YouTube at The Gaming Perspective. We've been kind of on and off the past couple of weeks, but back to consistency next week as my work slows down again. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. And as always, appreciate your questions, concerns, and comments. So please continue to send them in. We appreciate all of you, even if you guys are repeaters. We appreciate all of you, especially as we try to grow this thing. So keep them coming. We'll answer them, no matter what it is, whether it's the color blue, conspiracy theories, Scooby
That
Doo,
was so
anything,
random.
anything. We'll answer it. I will not solve your relationship problems, though. You have to pay for that. But until next time, we'll see you guys on next Friday at the usual time of 8 a.m. EST for the next episode of Cheat Code Radio. Thanks for tuning in, and see you later.